We all hear 1 gram of quality protein per pound of body weight or lean body weight. That's sort of what's thrown at us. By doing the heavier weight training, do you notice that your protein appetite has increased? Like appetite specifically for protein foods?
I don't know that I have. I interestingly have been doing a little bit more intermittent fasting, in which, people think about intermittent fasting, they think about it as just one thing, one intervention. I think it's two. There's a behavioral aspect to it where it's a tool to sort of lower the amount of calories you're taking in. The other one would be this metabolic switch. But so I've actually, since, September, maybe, last September of 2025, been doing more intermittent fasting. And what I mean by that is just eating less. And the reason for that is because I noticed that everything that I was doing, which was, I eat healthy, I exercise a lot, and yet I was sort of gaining more fat in the belly section, right, the visceral fat. And the only thing that really helped me stop that, put the brakes on, was getting more in a caloric deficit. So maybe my drive to do that kind of is skewing whether or not my appetite for protein would go up. But I personally am on the scale of 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight.
Per kilogram, okay.
Per kilogram, which is probably a little bit less than the pound.
Mm-hmm. It's a kind of a throwaway statement, a gram
per pound
of quality protein as defined as something with, lots of the essential amino acids and so forth, per pound or per lean pound of body mass. Which is something I think I and many other people shoot for, but I'm curious how religious you are about the, getting a certain protein amount or per meal.
Basically, it wasn't working for me in terms of I was really trying to aim for the higher end of for me, 1.6 grams per kilogram body weight, or even a little bit above that. And what I found, what was happening is that I was actually gaining more weight because I think I was consuming more calories at the same time. If you're getting it from whole foods, right? That's just kind of naturally going to happen. And so I had to slide down. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still getting within that range of probably on average, maybe 1.3, 1.4 grams per kilogram body weight. And it's really worked well for me. But people are different and you have different goals, right? I'm gaining muscle mass and I feel like all my training is the most important thing. And I think that generally speaking, I think people should become more obsessed with training and less obsessed with protein. The protein will complement the training. And as you mentioned, if you're training, perhaps your appetite for protein will increase. And so you'll start to eat, more protein and less refined carbohydrates. I already wasn't eating a lot of refined ultra-processed foods in the first place. Probably not the answer you were expecting, but it's really, for me, I just focusing on getting more protein was not working for my body. In terms of, but then again, I'm 47 years old, that perimenopause phase, very different than someone who's 37, maybe.
I don't know the answer to that. I do know that I hear from more and more people these days that they are having a hard time getting that 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It feels like a lot to them is what they're saying. They feel like they're kind of forcing themselves to do it.
You shouldn't feel that way.
Exactly. So I'm actually really pleased with your answer, not because I have an agenda here, but because I and many other people seem to feel like unless there's a lot of resistance training or tremendous demands, like hiking, while backpacking, where you burn tons of calories you're basically rucking 9 hours a day, right?
Right.
That they have a hard time getting that much protein down. And I think that's also the case if people are eating starches. I eat rice and oatmeal and some breads and things like that. Not a lot of bread, but it sounds like you eat starches. Right?
I do eat oatmeal too. It does satiate you. Mm-hmm. These days, because I really kind of more focused a little bit on, I did want to calorically restrict somewhat without, being unhealthy. Obviously, you can take every stressor to a bad, unhealthy place, right? You don't want to starve yourself. You don't want to not eat enough food. But my meals are mostly healthy proteins. So I have homemade turkey burgers. I eat a lot of those. And then I eat chicken. I pasture-raised chicken. I do still eat wild Alaskan salmon, and then I'll also mix in some filet mignon, I like grass-fed steak as well.
Yum.
Those are my protein sources, and always I pair it with greens. So, or like some sort of vegetable. Most of the times it's greens because they're the most micronutrient dense. And so these days I'm eating a lot of sauteed collard greens that are like pre-prepared, has garlic and onion, and I'll put that, I'll have that with my meal, or I'll have some, sauteed kale. Sometimes I'll have a salad with it, but the portions are smaller. And like I said, I also do a little bit of intermittent fasting. We can talk about that as well. But that's kind of these days what I'm doing for my meals. I haven't eaten as much. Sometimes I'll eat the high protein oats. They have those high protein oats. That have you seen those? They're pretty good.
I eat oatmeal, but I like protein foods. I like vegetables. I like fruit. I feel very lucky to like those foods mainly.
Yeah.
And then the starch for me has to be very clean. I like oatmeal, rice, homemade pastas. I'll eat. Like if I go out, sometimes I'll have some homemade pasta or a sourdough bread or something. But I find that most starches that are out there in the world have a bunch of other junk in them, and I just feel lousy. Get kind of sleepy afterwards. So it sounds like we eat pretty similarly, although I probably eat more starches than you do.